This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of all things video games. My name is George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing WWE 12, and we are live on Twitch and YouTube for Gameberry. We are raising even more money for St. Jude. We are over $2,300. We are doing some Bean Boozled, which we just did, unfortunately, and so much more.
And as always, guys, please make sure to subscribe and leave a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen. And make sure to follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can get this episode early and ad-free as a part of our Patreon, patreon.com/podexchange. That's PODXCHANGE. You also get access to show notes, exclusive shows, Discord, and a whole lot more from us and our good buddy Dylan Postel, who you may know better as Hornswoggle. But Johnny Clash, let's talk about this, man. We just finished an hour-long live playthrough of WWE 12. But before we do that, let's talk about the game that we played last time, Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 3-4 Budokan. How are you feeling 2 weeks later?
I mean, I guess, it was what it was. It was an All Japan Pro Wrestling game, great roster, simple gameplay mechanics, had that little bit of Fire Pro-ness to it, so it was familiar. Yeah, I'm still like it a week later. I've been going through like our clips and our YouTube and all that, and I thought it was pretty awesome. I like playing those old school Japanese games. I like when they're not Fire Pro and there's something different. Like that was something we aren't used to playing. A nice, just all Japan Pro Wrestling game. It was cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
I feel the same way. I think the thing that was refreshing about it was the graphic quality was such a, while feeling very similar, was a welcomed refresh from other games of that style. It felt like it was a, not necessarily needed, but a welcome improvement. Graphically, and the animations for a lot of the moves were really cool. The entrances were great. Just all in all, a good game. We both enjoyed it very well. Gave it a play it forever. But aside from the things that we have been playing on the podcast, what else have you been playing? This is the holiday season. Maybe you add some new games to your catalog. What do you got going on, John?
I mean, I downloaded Marvel Rivals. I haven't actually played it yet.
I've dabbled.
Still heavily involved in Pokemon the trading card game on my phone.
Okay.
The new card pack is out, so I actually probably have one due at this moment. I have to open. I've been battling.
Want to do a live card break?
Let's see. I could probably. So, Pokemon is one of those games. When I was little, I always collected, but I never played the proper way.
Yeah, I feel like
now that
a lot of people did that. Not everyone, but I know a lot of people who did.
But now that this is here and I know how to play the proper way, it makes me want to like build a deck from my old cards and actually play. But who would I play against? That's the question. No, probably no one.
Well, there's a problem. It's online play, right?
I'm talking about like real.
Oh, you mean like actual, like build a real deck? I thought you meant like on the trading card game. I'm like,
let's open a deck right now.
All right, live break here on the.
I don't even know who half of them are.
Give some names. Let's see.
Okay, Magmar, know him.
Okay.
Finneon, don't know him.
Okay, the fish.
Slurpuff.
Okay.
Swirlix, I know that one. Scolipede.
Okay.
That's the pack. That was a shitty pack.
All right.
Anyway.
No hollows or anything. All right. Not bad.
We're still playing Fortnite, of course, me and you. And me and the gang. We're in the chat right now, of course. Playing all day, all night.
Heard you and the gang got a couple wins today.
Just a couple. I started, so this happens every year when the new 2K game is announced. that I forget that I didn't beat last year's 2K game, and I have to go back and play. So I was playing on stream the other day, and I was clicked on Showcase, just assuming that I did it. I didn't do any of the Showcase.
Really?
So I started running through those. I got through the first 8 matches, and I think maybe by the weekend I should have it all finished, and I'm putting each match on YouTube as it goes. So yeah, it's been actually a lot of fun. I just wish I'm usually an advocate for those cutscenes in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
But now that I'm putting them on YouTube and I'm getting dinged for them, I don't want that.
No, there's always such like a fine line for the creative like content for the WWE games, because it's just like you want to make it the best possible experience for the viewers, but also you want to avoid getting the copyright strikes on your channel. And it's so much of the experience of wrestling as a whole is the presentation, and a huge part of the presentation is the music and the environmental sounds that happen. So like to lose some of that, you're kind of losing that what makes the experience of wrestling great. And that's not just something that happens with the 2K games. It's something that it's the 2K games. It's the I mean, when we were doing GMP 64, we had to figure out a way to get behind that. And now you have found a new way, now that you're editing GMP 24, to get around that as well.
God, yeah.
It's one of the, I understand it's a necessary component to protect the intellectual property and all that stuff. I'm not saying that it's wrong or bad, but I get it. I understand the challenge. I wish that there was a way around it. Like, I'm just making content. I'm a fan of wrestling. We're just making content. We're not doing this with malicious intent or try to steal money from you.
Speaking of GMP 64, the latest episode is out on YouTube. That's 24. Our WWE. Yeah, that's our WWE 2K24 Universe Mode playthrough, where it's George's team versus my team every single week. This week, we put out the Rumble, and you're speaking of intellectual property. I had to create AI music for 60 different participants in 2 different Royal Rumble matches, which is why it took so damn long to edit, so damn long to cut out, but I think it was well worth it, and it's worth the watch. It's probably our longest episode yet. Yeah. We're going to take a little bit of a holiday break on GMP 20. We're going to come back, I don't know, I say 2-3 weeks with the Road to Elimination Chamber, which is the road to GMP Mania.
Oh, man. Well, oh, God. Well, we got to talk about some stuff here before we get more into the episode. If you are listening to this episode, this is a live recording of this podcast episode. Like John said in the beginning, we're live on Twitch and on YouTube. This is all a part of an event that we have done for the last 5 years called Gameboree, where we raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So from now until January 5th, if you go to gamemarkspod.com/donate, you can go and donate. And if you're a part of the live episode, there's incentives. When we do our live GMP or Game Marks Mania, which will be happening in the new year, we will be still continue to raise money, and all of the donations go right to our GoFundMe, which go right to St. Jude's. And we thank you to everyone who's here in the chat, who's been here in the chat, everyone who's donated and supported us this year and every other year. Shout out to our sponsors, Secret Levels Podcast, always helping us out, guys, putting out great content, eating some crazy things on their own live stream, like bugs and octopus. What did they did their own Bean Boozled, right?
Oh yeah, they've been doing it all. We can't. How come every time I click away? That's so annoying, George.
Did you lose my camera?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
It's all right. It's working now. Yeah, we can't say enough good things about that squad. Great podcast on video games as well, so go take a listen. But today's prize, if you're in the chat, which is why you should join us on Twitch or the Game Marks Podcast YouTube for the live shows, we are giving stuff away, and today's prize is from Collect Major, a Major Bendy's Big Rubber Guys, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ed Magnum TA. That's the entire Series 6, and we already had a winner in the chat, and that goes to Pink Haired Demon. So we will be sending that your way after this episode. So
congratulations,
pretty damn
Pink.
cool. Now, George, we're here to play WWE 12, not 2K12. Some people make that mistake. This is just WWE 12, part of the series of just WWE 12 and WWE 13. Are you ready to dive in? Are you ready to put on those nostalgia goggles? Are you ready to take that deep dive into this week's episode?
I think we both put a lot of time into this game when it was new. I think we did a fair amount of time leading up to this episode, and in our live playthrough, I am ready to do it. Let's get into the deep dive.
Let's get it.
Looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup? There's no better spot to pick up your next figure than the Wrestling Collector Shop.
Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving the fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. So the next time you're looking for the newest wrestling collectible to add to your collection, make sure go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% on your order.
That's 10% off your order with code GameMarks at WrestlingCollectorShop.com.
All right, as always, guys, the deep dive brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. Use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% over at WrestlingCollectorShop.com. You heard the ad at the beginning of the episode. We got to remind you, they're here supporting Gameboree. They support the podcast every single week. So good to have them on board. A valued partner for sure. Here we go. WWE 12, released November 22nd, 2011 for the PS3, Wii, and Xbox 360. Developed by Yuke's, published by THQ, and other wrestling games in 2011. You've got TNA Wrestling on iOS and Android, WWE All-Stars, WWE Superstar Slingshot, and Hulk Hogan's Main Event. Whew.
So, other than this, not another, I don't want to say legit, another like
mainline series,
mainline competing game in 2011. So All Stars comes out, which we know is not really, a simulation type game.
It's more of a cartoony over the top game.
And then 3 mobile games come out. So that's all you have, which that Impact game was amazing. Slingshot could have been fun. It's like Angry Birds, but for WWE characters.
Man,
and Hulk Hogan's Main
All-Stars.
Event might be one of the worst games we've ever played in our 269 episodes of this podcast.
That
goes without saying.
That was
WWE 12 on top of this list here. Now, first announced in June of 2011. And the slogan was bigger, better, and better, which was the same slogan as WrestleMania 3. So we're going back a little bit. Now, it's the 13th game in the WWE series, if you're counting all the SmackDown versus Raw, the SmackDowns and whatnot. It is a successor to SmackDown versus Raw 2011. So it is the first WWE branded game, not SmackDown versus Raw, which was pretty crazy. And of course, WWE 13 follows it right before we enter the 2K series with 2K14. Now, I loved that they were going with the one person on the cover.
Yeah.
They were going with just the WWE name. And I feel like we were robbed of having that sports game feel to the WWE games with 2K coming on board. Now, I get it. Like NBA 2K, PGA, whatever else there is. I loved it at the time. I thought it was going to be this new groundbreaking thing. Like, oh my God, there's like MLB and Madden. Now we're just getting WWE 12. But we all know what happened to THQ after that, and we go over to the 2K series of games. But I think we were all for the better, for the most, I guess, for that switch up happening at the time. But
I just think, I mean, you like mimicked my exact feelings. It is the feeling of, man, this is kind of cool. It felt like it was almost like all right, people might have to start taking the wrestling games a little bit more seriously because they're being branded the same way, where it's just like, this is a wrestling game. This is the year of the wrestling game. There was no like, every sports game for every year, whatever the sport is, always has that saying. Like Madden always has like a slogan that they go with for every year just to, whether they're implementing a new system or something. Like there's always something. NHL did it too. There's always some kind of tagline to it. So for these 2 years, when you have WWE 12, WWE 13, it's Orton and Punk on the covers. It really did feel like, oh my God, they're doing something different. Something cool is happening. Like more people may be open to playing because it doesn't seem like there's it's less gimmicky. Like it's not this versus that or this. It's just like, this is the WWE. Here's the roster. Here's the matches. Go. Even though for us,
not as confusing.
We know that that's what the games have been. They just named it something different.
Speaking of, George, I'm 2 years sober from NHL, which is a big accomplishment for me. So
wow.
It's a little crazy.
Wow.
I keep thinking like I want to go back and play, but I would have to go back to like 19 to actually have fun. So
I don't think that I knew or that we ever talked about that you stopped playing NHL. I just thought that you played.
We did.
We did?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're right. We did. I thought you were just taking, my interpretation was you were taking a break from that year because you didn't enjoy the changes that they made. Not that you weren't.
Yeah. They didn't change anything back. So
I just thought that you were like, I'm just not playing this year. I'm going back to play, I didn't like 24. I'm going back to play 23 or 22.
Nah, no way. Let's talk about the changes within WWE 12 from 2011. Now, SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 was, I think, some people's favorite game. Like, it's a really good version of the SmackDown vs. Raw game.
Everyone's got their favorite SmackDown vs. Raw game.
And it's on a lot of lists. So when you go to 12, I think just the name change and the cover and the new menu and made this game have a different feel. But once the bell rings, it's not that different. But here are some of the changes. You no longer have the weak or strong grapples, which we're used to from the previous games. Moves are now based on the physical state of yourself as the wrestler. So if you're holding your ribs or if you're holding your back, that's going to affect the move. There's new attack mechanics where you can now attack in a down state, which is not the band. You can attack while you're down. And moves such as like the special moves like off the cell and all that, or finishers, they can now be interrupted. Royal Rumble eliminations, you can now interrupt them by either kicking them or throwing somebody into them. But I think one of the biggest improvements, I would say a little rework, is the pin meter. Now, I've said a million times on this podcast, I hate the meter that bounces from the 2K games. I hate the one where you have to stop the little ball and all that. I just don't like it. I'm not good at it. When me and you play, I'm on Parsec, which is an app where I remote into your computer and there's like a little bit of input delay. That's how I play Fortnite from a different computer as well. So there's that like little bit of input lag. It's not the worst. Like it's manageable, but you have to like plan for that little bit of something that's off.
Which after 5 years of doing this show, you've gotten pretty good at it.
I think this meter is one of the better ones that they had in this series of games.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I thought you were going to be like,
and you have to stop it on it. It definitely catches you off guard, and you could use resiliency to make the bar bigger, whereas now resiliency makes you kick out. So at the time it wasn't confusing, but now going back 2K to this, that you're like, oh wait, I still have to kick out. There is also improvements to the AI of your opponent. They don't use the same moves over and over again. They will switch it up a little bit. I think 2K could use a little bit of that because all they do is whip you into the corner, and it's very annoying. You can now store finishers. I know you had in our gameplay up to 3. I think you had.
I feel like that's usually back in the day was the max that you could.
Yeah.
Unless you went in and like changed in like the pre-match settings of like what the storage was like in the old like original SmackDown games. You can like be like, this is how many you're starting with, this is the max that you can have. I think at a certain point they got rid of them, and then it became the max was 3 that you can have.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing though. You get your signature, which then leads to your finisher. The HUD is this little tiny bar under your wrestler, so it's not in the way at all. I wish kind of they would go back to that, but now with the big screens, it doesn't really matter. It's on the bottom. It is out of the way.
Now. It's just when you have a lot of wrestlers now, it's very...
So here's the thing that's new, the limb targeting system. So once you grapple someone, if you press a certain button, can't specifically remember which one it was, it brings up a menu of, that little body thing that body meter, I guess you could call it, where it shows the red, the yellow target of the body.
Yep.
So now you could pick, say you want to be Bret Hart, you want to hit that sharpshooter, you can now target the legs a lot easier. Again, something I wish they would bring back. I know it's in there, it's just not as prominent, and I wish it was. And also, you now have this Breaking Point submission minigame inspired by the 2009 pay-per-view called Breaking Point, which was submission themed as well. I don't remember that being a thing. Apparently that was a thing. And it just shows the word Breaking Point on the screen, and the meter fills or it goes down and you kick out.
I forgot how there's a lot of features in this game that are reworked, have a fresh coat of paint on them nowadays, and I don't think that I've realized that they're this far back. Like I knew that limb targeting and a submission mini game has always been present in one way or another. It's always been, as far back as we were just talking about it last week in Zen Nippon, is that after a certain amount of moves, you would start, holding a leg, you would hold your head. Like it happens. And it was one of those things that until you realize how far back it was when we didn't realize that was the thing. Like, I don't know. I know it's just like a cool thing to think about how the evolution of these features that we're now like, yeah, this is a new feature or a highlight of a game, when realistically these have been implemented in all these multiple generations of games. They've just been reworked over time.
Yeah. It all kind of blends together, but then when you start remembering, you start picking things out, you're like, oh, that was there.
Submission minigame isn't Breaking Point anymore, but there's elements that are kind of similar.
Oh, Soups in the chat just said, happy holidays, Darby Allin just killed himself. What else is new?
Oh, geez. What is
Let's talk about the matches in this game. You have your one-on-ones, normal, regular exhibition match. You have your Extreme Rules, Hell in a Cell, Inferno, Iron Man, ladder match, Last Man Standing, Steel Cage, Submission, Table, TLC. And now you can still do a Falls Count Anywhere or a First Blood match, but it has to be made in the match creator. Your 2-on-2s are different variations of the one-on-one match types, but now you could also do a mixed gender tag team match, which you don't see very often. And I believe there are certain matches the women can't do as well. I don't know why. I hated that they used to do that. I'm glad now you could just do whatever you want in these games and be happy about it. Your 6-man matches, you have Armageddon, Hell in a Cell, a Battle Royal, Elimination Chamber, which you could do with a normal 6-man elimination, or you could do a tag, which is cool, or just a regular old 6-man elimination tag. Now your specialty matches are Backstage Brawl, a Royal Rumble, or do you remember the Championship Scramble? We haven't had one of those in a while.
I do remember them, and I do remember the matches being a lot of fun too to play through.
They are so nerve-wracking and give you anxiety. I don't like doing them. Now in Match Creator, you could change the environment, which the arena and all that, the win conditions, not wind with a D, the win conditions, or the rules of the match.
Very windy in the arena. It will be.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. This was kind of the start of what we get now with these long, like what people could upload and how, I don't know, you could pretty much do anything in these games, even if it's not in the game, if someone made it at some point. So
I mean, there's arenas in 2K24, and I believe there's been iterations of them for the last couple of years. Well, they'll take the arena and now you're fighting in, I don't know, they made the indoor arena. Yeah, they made it like Times Square, or they'll make it like an outside of a warehouse or something. Like people have been able to push the limits of the arena creation so much, and there's like the creation of elements within the game now. You really can make these wrestling games anything.
I think someone made the backstage arenas from WCW Backstage Assault, which is pretty funny.
I think someone made a thing that's like
enjoyed that.
That's like the Golden Gate Bridge. Like you're fighting on one of the road sections of the Golden Gate. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, pretty cool. Now let's talk about the game modes in here. We just talked about the exhibitions where you could just go in and have a match. It's a lot of fun. But it's the return of WWE Universe mode, a mode that me and George play weekly. It's near and dear to us. We love doing it. We love playing it. Where now you can participate in matches and storylines which are booked automatically. It includes additional cutscenes compared to the previous versions. 2K, please add some new cutscenes in. Let us do more cutscenes in your Universe mode. That's on my 2K25 wish. Please,
Yes.
I want more cutscenes. I want to be able to walk in the ring with a microphone and stand there and look cool and put some fancy text over it for YouTube. Please.
Freedom of how to do it. No, you don't
Yeah.
have to be engaged in a rivalry. You just pick wrestler A, wrestler B, the scenario, the type of environment that you want it to be, whether it's a promo or a backstage. Just the freedom. There's some features like that currently, but the rules of how you have to get to that point
Yeah.
the stars
Pain
have
in
to
the
align perfectly in your universe mode if you're writing your own stories.
Yeah. You can now do title matches on any show, not just a pay-per-view. You can now manually change the rosters. You can include a 2-week draft event. You can modify storylines by adding or interfering in matches. Rivalries can evolve into alliances and vice versa, just like WWE TV. You never know what's going to happen. SmackDown and Raw can be changed into WWE shows, old shows, WCW, ECW. There are some limitations. I don't think it's as drawn out as now where you could like add a show with those. I think you could just change the ones that are there.
Yes.
Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. I'm trying to.
I don't know. Well, here's something weird. The previous game, the exhibition stats would transfer over to Universe mode, which is not ideal. That always kind of threw me off. But Universe now, starting in 12, it's completely separate, which is the way it should be.
Yeah, I know. What was your opinion on the weight detection? And
I think it makes sense. It should be there.
yeah, like
No, you don't think so?
I think that it should be. I just think that it's come a long way from from where this game is. Like in our playthrough, I was Mark Henry, and I reversed. No, I was Rey Mysterio, and I was fighting the Big Show, and I reversed the Big Show doing a scoop slam into a rib breaker, and I was just like, I wonder what the modern day equivalent in the game of that system is, where like you reverse the move, but it
has actually fixed that completely.
I think you just end up doing like a drop toe hold or something, like a hip, like a arm drag or something.
Yeah. Well, also in Universe mode, now you're affected by weapon shots. You can, or multiple finishers, you can get injured and your wrestler will be sidelined for a certain amount of time. But George, the bread and butter here, Road to WrestleMania. We talk about them all the time. We talked about them with Justin Leeper, the developer of some of the SmackDown vs. Raw games, who was the writer for Road to WrestleMania mode. But it returns here for WWE 12, and you have 3 of them. The first one is called Villain mode, where you are Sheamus and you are essentially a villain. And then there's the Hero, where you are Triple H, and I believe the antagonist in that one is Edge. And then you have the Outsider one, where you get a created superstar. You create them. Their name is Jacob Cass, who is voiced by Austin Aries. Everybody knows him. Nobody loves him. Austin Aries. And now, this was kind of I don't want to say lackluster, because they were fun. And there is a lot to do in this game. I felt like, I don't know, the Sheamus one could have had a little more. The Triple H one was cool, but also, I think everyone remembers the Jacob Cass one. You fight with Nexus, with Husky Harris and all that.
Oh yeah,
which is crazy to think back in WWE 12, Bray Wyatt was in the game.
There's a channel that is kind of similar to ours. Well, they don't necessarily do full. What'd you say?
Shout them out. Who are they?
I can't remember the channel's name because it's not like a full blown podcast. They just post like memorable clips from the story modes and the road to WrestleManias from the past, of like those big moments where you would have, the backstage confrontation that like your created character was like taken out, or like the storyline character was taken out, or like there would be a big team up, or you would join this faction or whatever. And I was just like, man, just these small little clips are such a nostalgia bomb. Like it's just enough for you to be like, man, I remember that. Like, and you're like put back into that mindset of being, a teenager, be like, I remember playing this for the first time.
Yeah, I feel you on that. It's so crazy how vividly I remember a lot of this.
Yeah. Oh,
and there's always like, oh, video games are just a waste of time, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but like me and you, we could sit here and reminisce about some random cutscene from WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Like it's. I heard a quote. That's why you do it, right?
I heard a quote a couple months ago, and I don't know. It resonated a lot with me, and I feel like it is applicable here. Time enjoyed is not time wasted.
There you go. Boom. That's it. That's should literally be Twitch's slogan. But this was the final WWE game to feature a Road to WrestleMania mode, and yeah, that's pretty much when they shifted to showcases and My Rise.
Yeah.
But let's take a quick break. Quick.
I just had one more question. You brought up the difference between a Road to WrestleMania and a showcase, and now,
not much, honestly,
what'd you say?
Not much of a difference, but
no. But you brought up how there's the Road to WrestleMania, and then nowadays it's really like you're getting the My Rise and the showcase mode. If you could build your perfect game, do you want a more well-rounded, complete character arc of a Road to WrestleMania / My Rise, or would you rather a more expansive showcase where you're getting the big one, like the cover star is the showcase, but then you're also getting maybe something like what we got with the John Cena showcase mode, where it's everyone who beat up John Cena and has beat John Cena? Would you like more one or the other if you could pick?
I would go with a My Rise or a Road to WrestleMania type storyline. So showcase and all that, what's going to happen. You're just reliving history. It's got those cutscenes in the middle. I feel like My Rise is just unique. It's like playing through, I don't know, The Last of Us or just any story-driven game, but you're in the wrestling world and you could create your own wrestler and do it.
Okay. I wanted to, I don't think we've ever really, with how far showcase mode has come and how good the last couple of My Rises have been. I know for a while the My Rise storylines were kind of touch and go. The showcase maybe wasn't what everyone had wanted to be, or like they loved the presentation, but maybe they don't love the fact that they have to play as the same wrestler for so many times. So I wanted to see, how far we've come, and if there was a preference. And hey, guys, if you're listening to this, and even if you're in the chat right now, live on YouTube and Twitch, if you're there and you're listening, let us know what you would prefer: a more expansive My Rise or Road to WrestleMania, or a more expansive showcase mode. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, let us know on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. But John, I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying?
Well, before we go to a quick break, because we're about to get a Twitch ad here, I'm trying to align it. The creation mode here, we'll touch on this quick. You get new tools for creating superstars, entrances, finishing moves, which we need to bring that back. We need to create the ridiculousness again. Storylines, also something we need to bring back. Highlight reels, which we still use today, which is pretty cool. I like that feature. You can now create an arena for the first time. You could change the ring color, the aprons, the buckles, the mats. You could do steel or normal barricades, and you could include custom logos. Again, something that just starts us off for the tremendous ability that people do today. Something I do for GMP 24 every month.
Oh, man.
Let's take that quick ad break. Let's pay the bills, and we'll be back. We're going to read the roster and talk about the cover of the game. All right, George, you want to go through this roster here? I'll take Raw, you take SmackDown, and we'll see what happens after that.
All right, let's do it.
All right, your Raw superstars. You have Alberto Del Rio, Alex Riley, Big Show, CM Punk, David Otunga, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Evan Bourne, Ezekiel Jackson, Husky Harris, Jack Swagger, John Cena, John Morrison, Kofi Kingston, Mason Ryan, Michael McGillicuddy, The Miz, Rey Mysterio, R-Truth, Santino Marella, Triple H, Vladimir Kozlov, Zack Ryder, and now your divas for the Raw brand are Eve, Kelly, and Maurice.
And for SmackDown, you've got Chavo Guerrero, Christian, Cody Rhodes, Daniel Bryan, Goldust, Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel, Kane, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Sin Cara, Ted DiBiase Jr., Tyson Kidd, The Undertaker, Wade Barrett, William Regal, Yoshi Tatsu. And then for your divas on SmackDown, you've got Layla, Michelle McCool, and Natalia. And because I'm already going, I'll just keep it going here with the legends. You've got Animal, Arn Anderson, Axe of Demolition, Booker T, Brock Lesnar, Eddie Guerrero, Edge, Hawk, Kevin Nash, Mr. McMahon, Ricky Steamboat, Smash of Demolition, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Vader.
Pretty damn good roster here. Back when they weren't putting everyone in the game.
Yeah, this is it's a good mix of everyone. Again, I feel like these are just the games at the time. Divas roster. It's not as
something we noticed.
Expansive as it is nowadays.
No Batista.
So
he left in 2010 from WWE. So he's a year removed from this game.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. I kind of remember that. I think he dabbled in MMA a little bit. It's a scary man to be locked in a cage with, gotta say. Let's talk about the artwork here, though. We briefly touched on it earlier. You've got WWE with the Big 12 next to it, branded as all branded could be, with big ol' Randy Orton looking like the Viper he is. It's got the gold around it. This is one of my favorite covers of any wrestling game that ever existed.
It's awesome. There's nothing else to say. It's awesome. It is. There's no guesswork. There's the WWE logo. There is the only person on the cover is Randy Orton, and he looks like a wrestler. Like it does everything it needs to do to sell the game.
You know, we always say, does it look like a wrestling game? Is it a wrestling game? Blah, blah, blah. I think this doesn't really fall under that. This is just a shirtless tattooed man. This could be Tattoo Simulator 2012. This could be
the large WWE logo. I think is doing
right.
Some work here.
Sometimes maybe a ring in the background, but we said we were going more towards the same feel as the sports games, so I do get it. The back, another picture of Orton, bigger, better. Like we said, this was the WrestleMania 3 slogan as well. It says, "Experience the new WWE with Predator technology," which sounds really creepy. Redefine WWE action with gameplay that looks and plays better than ever before. Faster,
maybe they
simpler,
tied that in,
smoother.
Tied that in with Orton because he's the apex predator.
It still sounds really creepy to say Predator technology. Destiny awaits, the road to WrestleMania, multiplayer madness, compete online in all of your favorite matches, and a 40-man Royal Rumble. Oh my God, remember the 40-man Rumble? That was awful. I think that was the one Del Rio one. And then create and share. Create superstars, entrances, finishing moves, storylines. For the first time ever, create an arena, share, and download your creations online. That's what we love to see.
Oh man,
Xbox Live.
The old school days of the create a wrestler download.
It was not what it is today.
No
You're
way.
not putting tattoos and you're getting like Goku, maybe.
But people had to get real creative, man. I remember back in the day, I had
forever.
I had like a full on like Marvel, like I had Spider-Man and Venom and Carnage and Iron Man, and like someone just went in and made so many, and I had downloaded enough people that I had like a Marvel versus DC Rumble back in the day. Like I was like,
pretty cool.
people were creative with a limited tool set. Nowadays, you're getting like exact Robert Downey Jr. in WWE 2K24.
Oh, we never did. I guess I could say because we never did it. But I was gonna bring because it's so stupid to say out loud.
I'm like genuinely afraid about what you're about to say.
No, in GMP 24, I went the NWO route with Miss Elizabeth and Shawn Michaels, but I originally wanted to bring in Steve Harvey as my manager for some reason.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is possible now.
You did want to do that. I don't know why you wanted to do that.
I think I saw someone created him, and I was like, "Oh my god, George, please download this as my manager for no reason at all." Then it's Steve Harvey.
But that's the thing with 2K24 now is that you can just load into the most downloaded or the most popular or the most liked or upvoted content, whether it's a wrestler, an arena, a sign, whatever. And yeah, sometimes you're going to get wrestlers like the most current attire that was at a pay-per-view, or if someone like completely reinvent their look, someone will go in and they will make that attire within a day. But then you also get things where like people are making Marvel and DC characters, people are making TV show hosts and celebrities. Like the creative suite is literally whatever you can think of. There's a good chance that if you are driven enough, you could make it, or someone else may have had the idea and already made it.
Yep. I would make him just lead Clash in the direction of like siblings and family members. Like maybe go after Matt Hardy, maybe go after, I don't know, and make it the Family Feud. Okay. Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about the Mexican
Soups in the chat is right. I said within a day. He said he's seen it within hours. That's absolutely right. The creators for new costumes and pay-per-view attires are on the ball when it comes to it.
That is true. The Mexican cover of this game featured Sin Cara in the same style as Orton, and it's pretty damn cool
That also is really cool.
For being I guess, kind of a flop. He wasn't really what they wanted him to be, Sin Cara. He always looked freaking cool, and I think he could have been a star if maybe someone else was under the mask at that moment. Now let's talk about the graphics here. And all I could really say is, we've said this before when we cover like the video game history of McFoley and all that. Once you hit a certain point in these games, there's really nothing to critique because it just looks like a wrestling game.
Yeah.
You have really good looking wrestlers, and still the crowd is very papery, and that's not the greatest. But then you look at like the Tribute to the Troops arena, it looks flawless. You look at The Undertaker, he looks flawless. The Hell in a Cell could use work. It's got those big rings on it that aren't actual cage size compared to the wrestlers.
Well, I was going to say, we played on the Wii, and it still looks pretty good. Like, we weren't even playing on the Xbox or the PlayStation. Like, and it still looked pretty good.
I think the Wii just was a little more pixelated, and it didn't have that dimensional feel that the Xbox and the PlayStation has.
Yeah, it's different hardware, but yeah, the game itself still looked pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I really don't have any notes on the graphics here. They all looked really cool. Looked like WWE TV. Like we said, the HUD is not in the way. You don't even have to turn it on if you don't want. You don't have to turn on the visual numbers if you don't want.
No.
And you could just play it like a simulation, like you're watching wrestling. I think it was cool the way you exit. The cell was down to the right, and as soon as you exit, the camera switches so you're facing it. You don't have to worry about that. And yeah, again, you could turn it off if you don't even want that. So pretty cool.
Yeah,
Okers in the chat says, watching you play through, I couldn't believe this game was 12 years old. It looked really good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
this was kind of I guess once you hit that 7th generation console, once you hit the 360 and the PS3 and all that, it was kind of just smooth sailing from there. Everything looked great.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything that you just said. There is definitely that certain point where you're just like, they nailed the appearance and the textures and the presentation of the arenas, and people's tattoo don't look just like blobs on their arms anymore. Like, it just, they nailed it. Like, and it's only gotten better. Like now when you look at how, if someone wears a pair of jeans, like the denim actually has like a denim texture to it now, which is like an insane thing to be like, well, that's the thing that I'm going to look for now. But the technology has advanced so much that that's just possible, and it doesn't even affect the gameplay at all. Like it does, there's no negative effect to having realistic looking like skin textures and denim, and like you could see the pores on wrestlers' faces, like the amount of detail that has gone into the games from starting around this generation SmackDown, we'll say from like Here Comes the Pain, Just Bring It, Shut Your Mouth, to now. It's only gotten better, like incrementally. Like there's always been those, as you go from generational console to generational console, that the leaps are much greater. But man, to think about how great this looked, and then to think about the amount of level, the amount of detail level that we have today, it's crazy.
I don't remember which game it was, but I will always remember the selling points for one of the, I guess SmackDown vs. Raw. The back cover just said, "Now the wrestlers sweat." You're like, okay, that's the selling point. We get sweat now. I don't know.
I do remember that. I can't remember which. I think that was a new feature and now it just happens like as the match goes on.
I don't know.
But think about now in 24, as you wrestle, if a wrestler has face paint, the face paint slowly will like.
See, here's my gripe. I played Showcase the other day. Ultimate Warrior's face paint left. His chest paint was still there.
I was thinking about when we did GMP 24, and we had a certain wrestler with face paint. By the end of the match, face paint was gone. It's like, wow, that's cool. True. That's cool. Yeah. And it was a created wrestler. It wasn't even like it's in the game. Like it was like a downloaded version of that wrestler. I was like, that's so awesome.
Oh, also, did you know? Did you know THQ introduced Predator technology, enhancing wrestler realism, allowing move interruptions, and fixing warping attack animations, improving ring rope physics, and better collision detection were also added.
Did you know pre-ordering the game would allow people to play as The Rock? And they also received an alternative costume for The Miz with Jerry Lawler announced as downloadable content.
Did you know WWE 12 is on eBay for $12 to $6 disc to $12 used, and $33 factory sealed, and you can get the Rock exclusive Topps card for $15.
Hoo-wee. Let's talk about People's Edition. So
another cover with The Rock, and it's even golder than the other edition. It's got the WrestleMania logo on it. It's pretty damn cool. That's the Miami logo, I believe. That happened before or after the match? That's 28. Okay, so that's before their match at MetLife Stadium.
Yes.
That was 29.
Yes.
So the People's Edition comes with a unique foil sleeve cover with The Rock on it, which is pretty damn cool. Look it up if you want to check that out. It's definitely worth it. Which I'm going to touch on something else after, remind me. It comes with the game, obviously, with The Rock playable in it. You now get a Blu-ray featuring his must-see Raw appearance February to April of 2011. That's a real big time frame, which includes his return and his moments leading up to his match with John Cena. You get the foil Topps card that we explained before is $15 on eBay. I thought about it. And you get a photo, like a little photo card of The Rock as well.
Now, what is the thing you would like me to remind you?
I think we talked about this leading into one of the 2K games early on.
Okay.
But did you ever print an alternate cover and put it in your game?
Oh, yeah. We definitely talked about this.
There was a Daniel Bryan cover on one of them.
There was one that was also reversible.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
There was 1 year that it was reversible. Cover? It came with one person on the cover, but then if you took the insert out and flipped it over, you could reverse it to be someone else. I don't remember.
14, I believe, has Daniel Bryan cover alternate.
I was going to say, I don't remember if it was
custom.
14.
Yeah, I don't remember.
There was one that was reversible. I just can't remember what year and who it was.
I don't remember. The card's pretty damn cool, though. I might want to get that card.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Now,
good.
we mentioned DLC. Oh, wait. We have a question answered in the DLC here. THQ revealed the first DLC pack would be Shawn Michaels, Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, Michael Cole, which why do you want to wrestle as Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, or Michael Cole in a WWE 2K12 game? I don't know.
Well, Lawler and Cole had their match.
Yeah. Jim Ross? Alternate attires for the Road Warriors and tag team attires for Christian and Edge, which is something we don't see. It was 2K14. It was a fan design cover. Okay, that must be what I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure I printed it and put it in my game. Divas DLC, you get Trish Stratus, Karma, Nikki and Brie Bella, Vicky Guerrero, and the free Alicia Fox. Now, this is what we were talking about before. Batista is the third DLC. He is in here.
Batista.
With Brodus Clay, Randy Savage, and Mick Foley. And now they also released the Make Good DLC because Xbox 360 users had some glitches and technical issues, which featured a masked version of Kane. Now, some Xbox users actually got charged for that Kane, and they had to get refunded later on. Good old THQ.
It's a good way to make good, I guess, is to release the DLC and then accidentally charge people for it.
But all right, we've had a long night here. Let's sit back. Let's relax. It's time for some R&R, some ratings and reviews. Metacritic. This has a 71% out of 100 on the 360, 72 on the PS3, and a 74 on the Wii. The Wii somehow, it only has 6 reviews compared. Got it. Computer and Video Games Magazine gives us a 6.7 out of 10. G4 with a 5 out of 5 stars. Game Informer with a 5.5 out of 10. They are always so off, Game Informer. That's for the PS3 and the 360. Game Pro with a 3.5 out of 5 stars. GameSpot 6 out of 10. Game Radar Plus 8 out of 10. Game Trailer 6.3 out of 10. IGN with a 9 out of 10. Nintendo Power 6.5 out of 10. Official Nintendo Magazine 80%. Official Xbox Magazine, this is the UK version, a 7, and the US version 5. Play Magazine 50 out of 100, and Videogamer.com with a 6 out of 10. So this ranges somewhere between medium on a smaller base to like 9s and 5 stars.
Like
on
you
some
gotta play it.
9s, yeah. So do you value, I guess this is where you have to play the game to figure it out yourself. It's like a movie or anything nowadays. IGN gives it a 9 out of 10. G4 gives it a 5 out of 5. I think I value those a little bit more. I don't know. But now you look at like IGN and they give movies and video. They are so off with stuff. I don't know.
And I think it's because they rate so much stuff now. It's always so hard to rate so many different variations of content. Like it's unbelievable. It's such a huge ask to be so on top of so many different kinds of media at all times. Like I couldn't imagine all of a sudden we're going to start doing this podcast, and then in addition to this, we're also going to do like a pay-per-view breakdown and a movie review and a TV series, like, but all like as in depth as we do for the games. It's a lot. It's a lot. But hey, that's everyone else's reviews. But now it's time for us to offer up our review of this game, because right now it is time to rate the game.
The game!
Johnny Clash, I am confident enough that I am breaking out the 3, 2, 1. On the count of 3, let me hear your rating of Play It Forever. Or future endeavor. 3, 2, 1.
Play
It forever.
Yeah, this is a great game. I really enjoyed going back and playing this.
Yeah,
I honestly didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it literally was the nostalgia goggles, like, oh, WWE 12 game, and it just sat in my mind. You know, you always see the cool cover, and you're like, yeah, this was a good one. We went back, we played it. It was awesome. I would go back and play it again, and it's something. I don't know if I ever do set up a retro console in here somewhere, then it would be one I would definitely play.
Yeah,
What about you?
my biggest fear every time we go back and we play these games is not necessarily the nostalgia factor, because that's always going to be there. And I know that a lot of the most highly rated games in the back catalog, like Here Comes the Pain or Day of Reckoning, are always great. And I know that they are some people's favorite games, but for me, the biggest fear that I have is always how do the controls hold up? Because if you compare how the controls are to a SmackDown 1 to how 2K24 is, you're going to have a lot of people are going to have a hard time. And that's always my biggest fear. Like, what's the learning curve going to be is, you know, the experience that I have in my head of when I played this game last, you know, I was already up to date from the last game of what the controls are.
So college, isn't that crazy?
So now you're just like, oh, I just got to learn what this version, like whatever new changes they made in this version, but I'm still kind of on the same baseline. The baseline is kind of different now. So that's always my biggest fear, but this game held up very, very well control wise, not a huge learning curve at all. And, very, very easy double play it forever. A double piff, as John likes to say.
Piff.
And,
Double piff.
And now we turn the question to you, listeners of the show. Let us know in the comment section if you're live in the chat right now or on any social media platform. Let us know what you thought of WWE 12. And with that, John, are you ready to get into this week's Softlock?
Let's do it.
All right, the Softlock is a section of the podcast where one of our mega marks from our Patreon gives us a topic to debate, a question to answer. It's essentially a question of the week with a fancy name. And this week, the question comes from the Elder Spork.
Hey, Elder Spork.
And Spork's question is, if EA lost the license for the NFL a la SVR going away, who would you want to pick up the license, and could it go on as Madden?
Okay, so we're switching gears here from wrestling a little bit. If EA lost, 2K is the obvious pick, he said, but is there another developer to think of?
Naughty Dog.
Imagine. I mean, my mind goes to like I would want a Midway game again.
Midway would work. I just the first thing I thought of was Naughty Dog, because I feel like they have a good mix of everything. They've got the arcadey style, they've got the super realistic style, they've got great storytelling. So I'm imagining that like that franchise mode would probably be really, really good.
I mean, here's one. What about Epic Games? They do Rocket League.
Epic.
They do it pretty well. Or Rockstar even.
Rockstar would be interesting.
Or I think maybe
Activision.
Oh, never mind. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I was about to say, what about Electronic Arts?
What about Activision or Treyarch?
Yeah, Activision, I guess, is a shoe.
Well, no, Activision is EA now, isn't it?
Is it? I don't really know. I don't keep up with that.
Oh, man.
It could even just be a Microsoft release, honestly, or something. Grand Theft Football. Rockstar was going to get a license to a wrestling game at one point, I remember.
I don't want to speak out of turn here. Who owns Activision?
Then you're going to ask me to remove it later.
Yep, Activision Blizzard.
Don't go with Rockstar. You'll get Madden every 8 years. That's true.
No. Activision is owned by Microsoft. Yeah, you were right. Activision Blizzard owned by Microsoft.
Wait a minute. I just looked up Unreal Tournament because I used to play it, and it's on Epic Games.
Yeah, Epic owns Unreal. That's what the Unreal Engine is.
I know that, but I didn't know Unreal Tournament was on it. The 2004.
Yeah, and there's
We used to play that at lunch every single day.
Same. Yeah, same. What?
Oh my god! Did you play BZ Flag? You were like a little tiny 8-bit tank in like this shitty 3-dimensional world.
No, we played the one where you like had the jump pads and would like launch you across the map to the other base.
Oh, okay.
Oh man.
Want to play Unreal Tournament?
maybe we do that for the next live stream. Jump into Unreal Tournament. Probably get absolutely ruined in that game.
Oh.
All right, so what's your final answer for the soft lock?
Midway.
Okay, I'm saying Naughty Dog.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Let's talk about the next time we are going to be here. We're not actually going to be here next time. We're going to be back to our normal schedule every other week, back on the riverside.fm. If you want to be a part of these episodes like you are today, head on over to patreon.com/podexchange. This is the last episode for Gameboree. We'll be back playing games maybe some point next week with all the holidays. I'm sure somewhere in between.
It's not going to be Wednesday for the next 2 weeks, but I think John and I said that we'll find another day to go live for like an hour or two and try to get some games in.
And then we have our big event. I want to say January 5th, but that could change. We'll have a big announcement soon. It'll be a little marathon stream. Won't be 12 hours, but we'll try to get as close to maybe 3 or 4 as we could.
Yeah. Well,
but I want to tell you what the next episode of the Game Marks podcast is going to be. You want to give me the music? No? It is the Hall of Games 2024, where we induct games into the Game Marks Podcast Hall of Fame. Last year, it was my pick. It was George's pick. The Patreon picked, and we inducted a special guest who was Justin Leeper. Who's going to be this year? What are our games going to be? Who's the Patreon going to vote in? We have fun. We have some drinks, and we just talk wrestling, video games. That is the next episode. I cannot wait. This is my favorite event of the year.
John, do you have the list of what games went in last year?
I do. Give me 1 second. Game Marks Hall of Games. Okay. Hang on. My Z drive is stuttering. Because it is on my external.
It's because you gave it the last letter of the alphabet, man.
Okay. You picked Revenge.
Yeah.
I picked TNA Impact.
Okay.
Patreon picked WrestleFest.
Ooh.
And the guest we inducted was Justin Leeper, the developer of SmackDown versus Raw. We actually upload. Oh, last year we did this Christmas morning. I don't think that's going to happen this year, but it might fall on. Hang on. It's going to fall on. Okay, the 30th. No, that's wrong. It's going to fall. Okay, the week after New Year. Whatever. Either way, it's going to be New Year, new us. I cannot wait. New games inducted.
Yep. Very excited. So we will be. Yeah. So then. Okay. Yeah, that works out. Because.
Yeah.
Swoggle releases on the 1st. And then we'll be on the 6th. Yeah. All right, cool. I'm excited. Hall of Games is something that John and I have talked about literally since the beginning of the podcast. But we only started doing it last year. So very excited to do it. And it's a lot of fun. But yeah, guys, I think that is it. John, is there anything else you'd like to say before we do that outro?
Take us home, George.
All right. As always, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthrough, GMP 24, GMP 64, and a whole lot more. Make sure to check out podexchange.shop. That is PODXCHANGE for all of our exclusive merchandise. Johnny Clash has a store as well. What's your store URL?
Hang on, I don't know it.
Really,
Johnny Clash with 2 H's -shop.fourthwall.com. It's also all over my social media.
You just gotta get johnnyclash.com or johnnyclashtv.com.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, you gotta fix that. I wanted that to be a nice clean plug for you.
There's a link everywhere.
I apologize. You can check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/GameMarksPod. You can also check out prowrestlingtees.com/Johnny Clash. Johnny Clash has a Pro Wrestling Tees store as well. You can also get all of the exclusive content that we make for our Patreon at patreon.com/podexchange. Again, that's PODXCHANGE. That is access to the show notes, ad-free episodes, and exclusive content from us and Going Postal, which is our buddy Swoggle. And guys, within the next week and a half, John, Dylan, and I have to film a Muppets trivia roundtable game.
I know nothing about the Muppets.
Where for every question that we get wrong, John and I have to do a Hot Ones last dab.
I did not know that that stipulation.
And for everyone that John and I get right, Dylan has to do it.
Oh, God.
So someone's going to be eating some hot wings. And then, of course, the debut of Going Postal Aftermath, which is Dylan's after show where he gives you, it's just him hanging out. He's going to field some questions from the Discord. He's going to tell everyone what he's got going on and what is coming up. And yeah, at Game Marks Pod on all forms of social media. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast or on Going Postal, you can reach out to us at gamemarkspod@gmail.com. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Game Marks Podcast. We appreciate everyone here helping us out, raise money for St. Jude's, and we will see you for the Hall of Games. Johnny Clash, whenever you're ready.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no game shard. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.